Welcome back. Have you ever had that incredibly frustrating experience where you're studying a new language and you feel like you've really genuinely got it?
Oh, yeah. Like you know all the vocabulary.
Exactly. You know the words, you understand the grammar rules, you can sit there and read an article or watch a foreign film, and your brain is tracking along perfectly.
Right. It feels great until you have to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, until that dreaded moment arrives where you actually have to open your mouth and, speak it to another human being in real time, and suddenly you just completely freeze up.
The worst feeling.
It really is. The words just evaporate. Your tongue feels way too big for your mouth, and absolutely nothing comes out smoothly.
Well, it's a universally maddening experience, honestly. You have all this data successfully uploaded into your brain, but the physical output mechanism is just... it's completely jammed. You know exactly what you want to say, but your body just refuses to cooperate.
Yeah, and that is exactly what we are digging into today. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is uncovering the hidden mechanics of language fluency.
Which is a huge topic.
It really is. And to do that, we are looking at a 30-day mouth training plan developed by language coaches Emma and Jack. And, okay, let's unpack this because their core premise completely flips how most of us approach language learning.
It really changes the whole paradigm.
Right. They argue that speaking a language isn't just a mental exercise of remembering words. It is fundamentally a physical workout. It's biomechanical.
Which, it makes perfect sense when you step back and look at the actual biology of human speech.
Right.
As adult learners, we aren't starting with a blank slate. We already have mouth muscles, our tongue, our lips, our jaw, our vocal cords, and they are heavily trained for our native language.
Yeah, for decades usually.
Exactly. We have spent decades performing these incredibly specific micro movements to produce our native sounds. Overriding that deeply ingrained muscle memory requires a specific a daily physical regimen. You have to literally retrain the meat and cartilage in your face.
Wow, the meat and cartilage. That's quite an image. But that is exactly what Emma and Jack's training plan is designed to do. And I love this concept so much because it explains all of that frustration we just talked about.
It really validates the struggle.
It does. Trying to speak a new language fluently by only reading grammar books and, watching YouTube videos is basically like trying to learn how to swim by reading an instruction manual while sitting on a dry couch in your living room.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. You can study the diagrams of the freestyle stroke all you want. You can memorize the exact angle your arm is supposed to enter the water. But until you actually jump in the pool and get your muscles wet, you are going to sink.
You're just going straight to the bottom.
Exactly. You have to physically train the body to perform the action.
That is a perfect analogy. And getting into the water is what the first phase of their training plan really tackles head on. Because before you can swim, you have to know how to move your limbs.
Makes sense.
So they start by completely isolating these specific mouth muscles to intentionally break your old physical habits. And what's fascinating here is the biological reality of how we acquire our very first language compared to how we kind of arrogantly try to acquire our second.
Oh, right. Like with babies.
Yeah, think about babies for a second. Babies spend years doing nothing but babbling. They just sit in their cribs running this high-level physical sound training laboratory.
Just making weird noises all day.
Exactly. Endless nonsensical noises. They're isolating individual sounds, figuring out exactly how their lips and tongue must coordinate to mimic the noises their parents make.
But adults don't do that.
No. As adults, we think we're above that. We try to skip the physical sound training phase entirely and just jump straight into forming complex, nuanced sentences.
Which is wild when you put it like that. We expect our adult mouths to just instantly know how to perform a brand new gymnastics routine without doing a single stretch.
Right. Without even warming up.
So to fix this, Emma and Jack lay out specific physical movements for the first part of their plan, completely stripping language down to isolated sounds. Week 1 is all about this. Take the TH sound, for example. Words like the, this, think.
That's a notoriously tough one.
It really is, because for a massive portion of the global population, this sound literally does not exist in their native language. The neural pathway to make that sound just isn't there.
No, it's completely foreign.
So the plan instructs you to physically place your tongue lightly between your teeth and, forcefully blow air out. If you're listening right now, try it. You can feel the vibration on your bottom lip, and they even give you a tongue twister to drill it. It's this and that are 3 things I think about.
And if you do that, you immediately feel how purely physical the barrier is.
Yeah, it feels really weird.
It's a posture your jaw and tongue simply aren't used to holding. It feels unnatural, almost uncomfortable at first.
Right. And they do the same thing with the W and V sounds. For W, you have to round your lips into a tight, small circle like wow or water. But for V, you have to put your top teeth lightly on your bottom lip to create friction, like very, voice. And then they tackle vowels and the notorious American R sound. And this is where it gets highly technical because they note that to make the American R, you have to curl your tongue back slightly without actually touching the roof of your mouth.
Yeah, the American R is a fascinating hurdle from a physiological standpoint.
How so?
Well, think about why it's so incredibly difficult for someone whose native language features a rolled R, like Spanish or Italian. A rolled R relies entirely on tactile feedback.
Meaning you can feel it happening.
Exactly. The tip of the tongue is actively striking the teeth or the palate. You feel the contact. But the American R requires the tongue to be suspended in midair inside the mouth.
Oh, wow. So it's just floating there.
Yeah, it's tense, but touching absolutely nothing. And the brain hates that lack of tactile feedback. It's a highly specific muscular gymnastics routine, and your brain will constantly try to default back to the contact it knows, which is, why the accent lingers.
It's all just biomechanics. And they also focus heavily on the ends of words in this first week, which is something that completely ruins clarity for a lot of learners.
Oh, dropping word endings.
Yes. Yeah, people tend to drop the AD, the AS, and the NHNG sounds. They'll say work instead of worked, or talk instead of talks. The plan makes you overpronounce these endings, and eventually on day 7, you record yourself speaking to figure out which of these physical sounds your mouth struggles with the most.
Which is a great reality check.
It is. But I do have to push back on something here, or at least ask the question on behalf of anyone with a busy schedule.
Yeah.
The plan only asks for about 10 minutes of practice a day. Is 10 minutes a day genuinely enough to rewire muscles that have been speaking a native language for 20, 30, or 40 years?
It is a totally valid skepticism, but yes, it actually is enough.
Really? Just 10 minutes?
Yeah, and the reason comes down to how our nervous system actually builds muscle memory. Consistency is physically far more effective for neurological adaptation than duration.
Okay.
It's the exact same principle as building a habit at the gym. When you do short, daily, repetitive sessions, you are actively thickening the myelin sheath around the neural pathways that control your mouth.
A myelin sheath.
Yeah, basically the insulation for your nerves.
Yeah.
You are signaling to your brain, hey, this new movement is a permanent daily requirement. We need to optimize for it.
Oh, I see.
If you try to do one massive 3-hour cram session on a Sunday and then do nothing for 6 days, your brain just treats it as an isolated, stressful event and dumps the physical memory to save energy. So short sessions every single day force the biological adaptation.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say I've been doing my 10 minutes a day, I've isolated the muscles, and I can produce these perfect individual sounds. My American R is flawless in a vacuum. But obviously, if I walk up to a native speaker and just fire off perfect, isolated sounds, I'm going to sound like a malfunctioning robot.
Yeah, very robotic.
You can't just throw perfect sounds at someone. You have to string them together into a song. Which brings us to the next phase of the process, week 2. Transitioning from isolated mechanics to full body coordination. This is all about rhythm and stress.
This is a massive stumbling block because this is where the underlying mechanics of English differ wildly from many other languages. English is what linguists call a stress-timed language.
Meaning what, exactly, for the person trying to speak it?
Well, it means that the rhythm of the sentence is dictated by the important words, not by the number of syllables.
Okay.
In a language like Spanish or French, which are syllable-timed, generally every syllable gets roughly the same amount of time and weight. Sounds like a machine gun, tat-tat-tat-tat-tat.
Right, very even.
But English is more like a jazz drum beat. Not all words are given equal weight. The strong, stressed words, like the nouns, the main verbs, they carry the actual meaning, so they get stretched out. The grammar words, the prepositions, the articles, they get squeezed into the tiny spaces between the strong words. Emma and Jack use a great example for this. I want to go to the store.
Wait, let me try that, emphasizing the rhythm. I want to go to the store. Wow, you almost feel like a musician trying to find the downbeat.
Yeah, you really do.
If you don't hit the strong words, the whole sentence just falls flat and sounds confusing.
Exactly. The stress words are want, go, store. They get all the vocal energy. The other words, I, they're said quickly, softly, almost swallowed. That rhythm, strong, weak, weak, strong, is is literally the heartbeat of fluent English.
The heartbeat, I like that.
If you apply a syllable-timed machine gun rhythm to English, native speakers will struggle to understand you, even if your individual pronunciation of the words is perfect, because their brains are listening for the musical stress beats to decode the meaning.
And the training they suggest for this is incredibly physical. On day 8, the plan actually asks you to clap your hands on the stressed words.
Yes, the clapping exercise.
If you're listening right now, wherever you are, try it. Tap your steering wheel or clap your hands on the strong words. I want to buy a new phone. You can immediately feel how your brain is forced to prioritize those words. You're physically anchoring the vocal rhythm to a gross motor movement.
It brilliantly takes this very abstract concept of linguistic stress and makes it a tangible physical reality that your body can memorize. And once your body feels that beat, you suddenly understand the necessity of what linguists call weak forms and linking words.
Right. This is days 9 and 10. This is where words morph and melt together when spoken at a normal pace. So 2 becomes tu, 4 becomes fu.
Exactly.
What are you doing becomes what are you doing? I don't know. It becomes, I don't know. Going to becomes gonna. But let me challenge this for a second because I can hear the high school English teachers screaming in my ear.
I'm sure they are.
Aren't words like gonna, dunno, and what I just examples of lazy speaking? If I wrote that in an essay, I'd fail. Why would a language plan actively teach you to speak poorly?
It is a very common objection, but it fundamentally misunderstands how spoken English operates. This is not laziness. This is the natural, necessary byproduct of a stress-timed language.
Oh, because of the clapping beats.
Exactly. In order to hit those clapped beats we just talked about on the strong words, the in-between words must be compressed. Striving for perfect, robotic enunciation of every single syllable actually destroys the rhythm. It makes you sound much less natural.
That makes total sense when you think about it as music.
Yeah, the weak forms aren't mistakes. They are the intentional shortcuts the language evolved to use so that the speaker can maintain that rhythmic heartbeat.
You have to ride the wave of the language, not fight it. And to force you to ride that wave, days 11 through 13 introduce the shadowing technique.
Shadowing is so powerful.
It is. You take a 5-minute video or audio clip of a native speaker and you speak over them simultaneously. You try to match their exact speed, their exact rhythm, and even their exact emotion. You don't pause it, you just try to stay perfectly in sync.
Shadowing is brilliant because it forces your mouth to move at native speed, which completely bypasses your analytical brain.
You literally don't have time to think.
No, you don't have time to stop and overpronounce every syllable. You are forced to use those weak forms and linking words just to keep up with the audio. It builds incredible muscle endurance.
Okay, so let's say I've mastered this. My mouth can make the isolated sounds, I understand the rhythm, and I can shadow a video perfectly. But shadowing is still just mimicry.
True.
If I run into a native speaker on the street, I'm still going to freeze because I don't have a script to shadow anymore. Generating original thought is completely different from repeating a script. So how does the plan bridge the gap between mimicking and actually thinking on your feet without hesitating?
Well, that hesitation is exactly where the mental block collides with the physical block. To hack that hesitation, week 3 introduces exercises designed to force spontaneity, starting with the 1-minute challenge.
Which sounds intense.
It is. You pick a totally random topic and you have to talk nonstop for 60 seconds. The catch: you cannot pause for more than 3 seconds.
Wow, 3 seconds is nothing.
It's really fast. If you can't find the exact perfect vocabulary word you want, you can't stop to search your mental dictionary for it. You have to use a simpler word, talk around it, and just keep the sounds flowing out of your mouth.
Which sounds terrifying, but they give you tools to survive it. Days 16 and 17 teach you to drill automatic sentence starters. Phrases like, the thing is, to be honest. What I mean is...
Yes, those buy you so much time.
You practice these until they just fall out of your mouth without a single conscious thought. But here's where it gets really interesting for me. They also aggressively advocate for the counterintuitive power of filler words on day 18.
Ah, yes, the thinking sounds.
Right, well... let me think. Right, so... You know... People often view these as bad habits, but native speakers use them constantly. Using these English filler words is basically like keeping a car engine idling at a red light.
I love that analogy.
You're stopped, you're trying to figure out what you actually want to say next, but the engine is still humming. It keeps the conversation flowing smoothly, it signals to the other person that you still have the floor, and most importantly, it keeps your mouth in physical motion.
Yes, keeping the mouth moving is key.
Right, whereas if you just freeze in dead, panicked silence while you search for a word, it's like turning the car engine completely off. When you finally find the word, you have to restart the whole verbal engine from scratch, which takes so much more cognitive energy and makes the interaction feel incredibly jerky.
That's a profound way to look at it.
Yeah.
The idling engine keeps the physical momentum going, even when the mental processing needs a second to catch up. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire goal of this phase of training is forcing the brain to bypass the mental translation process entirely.
Which is what slows us down.
Exactly. When we learn a language traditionally, we think of a concept in our native language, we translate it to the new language in our head, check the grammar rules, and then we speak. That middleman takes way too long. That's why they introduce immediate Q&A drills on days 19 and 20.
Oh, right, where you ask yourself a question out loud, like, what did you do today? And you have to answer it out loud immediately. No pausing, no translating in your head.
Exactly. You are forcing the brain to link the abstract concept directly to the physical English sounds, skipping the native language translation entirely. And on day 21, they escalate this by having you play both sides of a 5-minute conversation out loud.
So you're just talking to yourself?
You are. You introduce yourself, you disagree politely, you change the subject. You are the architect of the whole interaction, forcing yourself to operate entirely in real time.
So we're generating original thoughts. We've got the sounds, the rhythm, and the ability to speak without a script. But doing all of this in a quiet room by yourself is still very different from the unpredictable chaos of real life.
It certainly is.
Which introduces the final phase of the process, week 4, real-world application, or what Emma and Jack call the fluency explosion.
This is where the laboratory meets the wild.
To prepare you for the wild, days 22 to 24 of the plan have you start narrating your own life out loud, everything you do. If you're making coffee, you literally say, I'm filling the kettle with water, now I'm waiting for it to boil, I think I'll use the blue mug today.
Yep.
And I have to ask, narrating my own life out loud while making coffee feels completely ridiculous. If my roommates overhear me, they're going to think I've entirely lost my mind. Why is this specific exercise so heavily emphasized?
Well, it might feel completely ridiculous, but it is neurologically vital. Narrating mundane tasks builds what language coaches call automatic English.
Automatic English.
Yeah, think about it. When you're filling a kettle or walking down the street, your brain isn't doing high-level problem solving. It's an incredibly low-stakes, low-stress environment. By attaching English vocabulary to these physical, everyday actions as they happen in real time, you are building a direct bridge between your physical reality and the language.
Without the pressure.
Exactly, without the immense cognitive load of a high-stakes conversation.
Yeah.
It's the holy grail of fluency, where words emerge as a reaction to your environment without conscious thought.
It makes the language a living part of your actual day, not just an abstract puzzle that lives in a textbook.
Right.
And from there, days 25 to 27, you start building real endurance with 3-minute non-stop talks on specific topics, like a place I would love to visit.
Okay.
3 minutes of solo, continuous speaking is a marathon for the mouth muscles and the brain.
It is a profound test of endurance, but it prepares you for the ultimate test, which is speaking with real people.
The final exam, days 28 and 29. After weeks of physical training, you get in the ring with a real conversational partner. The plan suggests using language exchange apps like Tandem or HelloTalk, finding online tutors on italki, or just joining local community groups. But the point is, you finally engage with a real human being.
And this is where the creators of the plan lay out their 3 golden rules for this entire process, which are honestly worth emphasizing for anyone trying to learn anything.
Let's hear them.
First, practice every day. Even 5 minutes is better than 0, because consistency beats perfection when building neural pathways. Second, speak out loud. Reading silently does absolutely nothing to train your facial muscles.
Right, getting off the dry couch.
Exactly. And third, don't fear mistakes. Every mistake is just a training repetition.
Every mistake is a training rep. I love that so much. It completely reframes the fear of looking stupid. A mistake isn't a failure. It's just a repetition that builds the muscle for next time.
Yes, exactly.
So we have walked through this entire methodology today. We've explored the biology of isolating sounds. We've clapped out the musical rhythm of stress timing. We've idled the verbal engine with filler words. And we've narrated our coffee making out loud. We've covered a massive amount of ground.
We have, and what I love is how it completely demystifies the fluency process. It takes it out of the realm of magic and puts it firmly into the realm of biology.
Exactly. It is the ultimate reminder that fluency isn't a measure of your native intelligence. It isn't a measure of your worth, and it isn't even just a measure of how big your vocabulary is. It is a measure of your physical repetitions.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean for you? It means you have full permission to stop treating language learning like you're cramming for a written history exam and start treating it like you're going to the gym.
And this raises an important question, one that goes even beyond just learning English or a new language. Yeah, we often think of our accents or our struggles to speak a new language smoothly as fixed parts of our identity. We internalize it as a limitation of our intelligence. We say, I'm just not a language person. I'm not good at this.
Right. People say that all the time.
But if this 30-day plan shows us that an accent or a hesitation is simply a lingering physical habit of the mouth muscles, something that can be systematically retrained and overwritten with just a few minutes of focused daily effort.
Wow. Yeah.
What other deep-seated, supposedly mental limitations in our lives are actually just physical habits waiting to be systematically retrained?
Oh, that is a brilliant point to end on. It's not a character flaw, it's just a muscle that hasn't been stretched yet. It's time to put down the swimming manual, get off the dry couch, and actually jump in the water. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.